I finished it, guys. I finished The Song of Achilles, written by Madeline Miller. The second book by Madeline Miller that I've ever read. First one being Circe, which I absolutely love. And I'm happy to say I really did love The Song of Achilles. Now, if you clicked on this video, I'm going to either assume that you've already read The Song of Achilles, you want to hear my thoughts and opinion on the book, or that you probably don't know about Song of Achilles. You're like, maybe Billy likes the book and maybe I should check it out. Well, I do like the book. I like the book a lot. If you're a big fan of like Greek mythology, Greek stuff, if you like Achilles, you like retelling of like famous Greek stories, then this book is definitely for you. I promise, if you haven't checked out Madeline Miller's other work, Circe, check that out too. They're both phenomenal. Okay, now going to talk about the story itself from a more spoiler perspective. Not going to talk about every aspect of the book, but I'm going to talk about the ones that, in my opinion, like were the big moments for me. The first big thing that I want to talk about in this book is Patroclus. I was somebody who, going into this book, had no idea who Patroclus was. I never heard of the character before. I was very confused of who this guy was. What is he doing in a book about Achilles? Patroclus is a character that, when you compare him to Achilles in this book, they are night and day of each other, but they work so well together. Patroclus is someone who doesn't get the limelight. He doesn't get the shine that Achilles get. You know, throughout the whole entire book, Achilles is always seen as the perfect one. You know, he's the best of the Greeks. Achilles knows he's destined to become this famous warrior, this famous guy that will have songs written about him for ages. And Patroclus is just, you know, hi, I'm here. Like, I'm Achilles. Like, man, I exist too. And at the beginning of this book, I really didn't care about Patroclus. I'll be honest with you. I really wanted to see more of Achilles. It wasn't till towards midway slash end of the book that I really fell in love with who Patroclus was and what he actually offered to the story. You see these two characters that from early in the book, they grew up together. They were inseparable. Like, it was Achilles and Patroclus. Patroclus and Achilles always together. And towards the end, you see them kind of drift apart and become two different people. You see the Patroclus that cares about the Greek people that are like, hey, Achilles, you need to join this fight. Like, the Greeks, they're dying. These are people that I helped. These are people that I healed. I know these guys' name. Like, I know who they are. And Achilles is someone who is like, it has nothing to do with me. Until Agamemnon like forgives or says sorry to me, restores my pride, my honor, whatever, I don't care. Let them die. That is his fault. And it's kind of, how to put it, it is on par with what you would think a legend would look like. It is on par with a kid who has a silver spoon in his mouth. Achilles is destined for greatness. He knows he's destined for greatness. He knew he was destined for greatness since he was a little kid. And Patroclus is not destined for anything. He's just a guy that is here, that Achilles fell in love with, and who Patroclus fell in love with Achilles, but he's just here. And I really loved it later when Achilles started getting like this limelight, this shine, and Patroclus didn't get that really at all. But he made himself useful in ways that Achilles never could have. Good thing I kind of want to talk about a little bit here is the relationship between Patroclus and Achilles. As you guys know, when I read books, when I decide to pick up a book, 9 times out of 10, I'm picking up a book because of the cover. If it has a cool cover, I'm going to choose to read it. That being said, I had no idea that this book was a love story. I had no idea that this book was an LGBTQI book. I had no idea that it was going to be a book centered around Patroclus and Achilles' relationship. Now, early in the book, you definitely get like glimpses and hints of, oh no, these two, they seem a little bit more than just friends here. For sure, like that is there. But I didn't know it going into the book, and I was like, wait a minute, I didn't know Achilles was gay. But once again, I didn't know too much about Achilles to begin with. I love the way in which Patroclus and Achilles' relationship develops throughout the entire book. I love the way in which it's not something that is forced. It's not something that feels like it was rushed. It feels natural. It feels very just genuine in itself. I guess my biggest question would be what made Achilles choose Patroclus overall over everybody else. That I guess I don't know, but it doesn't really matter. That's how love works. You can say, why did you not choose me? Why did you choose him? Why did you choose her? Who cares? You didn't get chosen. They didn't like you. They didn't fall in love with you. And Achilles and a Patroclus relationship, they are together. They are together to the very end of the book. Even when they bicker, even when they fight, they are still, it is me and you together. It doesn't matter. Nothing's going to separate us. And I love that, because that was the biggest theme throughout the whole entire book. There was literally nothing that could separate these two characters at all. It didn't matter what was going on. It didn't matter if they agreed, disagreed. They were together. Okay, now I really want to talk about Achilles. Not just because, his name is on the book, the Song of Achilles, but because I had this conception that Achilles actually changed throughout this novel. But upon second thought, I don't think Achilles really changed that much. See, what I'm talking about is the end of the book. Towards the end, when Achilles gets into the big fight with Agamemnon, when Agamemnon basically takes Briseis and steps on his honor, his pride. And Achilles does this whole thing where he says, I refuse to fight in the war. I refuse to help you win this war with Troy. And I'm going to sit back, me and my other warriors, we're just not going to do anything. You're going to fight that. That's your fight, not mine. Knowing that if he's not actually a part of the war, if him and his man aren't actually there, he knows that the Greeks are going to constantly lose each fight they get in. He knows that without him, they can't win at all. Like, he is the best of the Greeks, when Achilles is essentially almost a whole entire army. And without Achilles, many Greek warriors die. But while Patroclus cares about the Greeks dying, Achilles, he doesn't care. He's thinking about himself here. He's thinking about, well, that was Agamemnon's thing. I'm going to do me. He stepped on my pride. He stepped on my honor. And until he apologizes and makes up for it, I don't care. Those men will die because of Agamemnon. It's not my fault. Achilles essentially thinks nothing but about himself. Like, he only thinks about himself. He's a very selfish character. We can see Achilles being selfish throughout the novel in many different ways. Rather it be him talking to his mom, Thetis, and how she says, hey, you need to leave Patroclus alone. Like, he's not going to give you fame and glory. Leave him alone. And he says, no, I don't care. I like him. Like, I like him. He's going to stay with me. I don't care what you have to say. It's funny because, like, earlier in the book, things like that, it's like, oh yeah, he's defying his mom. He's fighting for love. But it just kind of shows Achilles part of his selfishness. Now, that's just one aspect of Achilles being selfish. Another way that Achilles shows that he only cares about himself is when he decides to go and fight the Trojan War to begin with. Like, you can't ignore the fact that, like, he was given an option. He was told that, hey, if you fight, go to war. If you go to war with this prophecy, you will not return home from Troy. But you will get the fame, you'll get the accolades, your name will be remembered for ages. Option 1. Or you don't have to go to Troy and you can stay with Patroclus and you will be happy, you will live old, but your name won't be remembered. And he's thinking, wow, these are my two options. But not really. I'm gonna chase the fame and glory. I want my name to be remembered. He could have easily, do all that aside and be like, I'm gonna stay with Patroclus. But he said, no, I want to be famous. I want this. I want my name to be known. I want to be remembered. If I stay with Patroclus, I won't be remembered. And then you get to the part where Patroclus decides to wear Achilles' armor because Achilles refuses to go to war and refuses to be a part of the war until Agamemnon apologizes. So he says, yeah, sure, Patroclus, go ahead. You can wear my armor. You can, pretend to be me. And he lets him go out still, and Patroclus dies. And after Patroclus dies, now Achilles wants to get mad because he feels like he got stepped on again with his honor. And he decides to go kill Hector and then just drag Hector's body around and not have Hector receive a proper burial. And he's blaming everybody except for himself because it was his fault that Patroclus went out and died. If you just went and did what you went to the war to do, and you stop thinking about just yourself and letting your ego get bruised and things like that, you would have been fine, and Patroclus would have been fine. Even that part, Patroclus is constantly telling Achilles, hey, please do this for me. do this for me. If it's not for you, just do it for me. I want you to go back to the war. Like, we need you to fight. These men are dying. Please join the battle again. Please do it for me. Like, I'm on my hands and knees begging you. Like, please. And keep in mind that Patroclus is Achilles, like, #1 guy. That is his man. Like, that is, like, they are lovers. Like, it's one of, like, things, like, you can't be selfish, be selfless when you're in a relationship. But then you have this one key moment, probably the most important part of the relationship. Achilles says, no, I don't care how much you beg me. I don't care what you have to say. I refuse to go back out to war. I will not rejoin the battle. There's nothing you can do that's going to make me rejoin the battle. Let those men die. That is Agamemnon's fault. Even when Patroclus lets him know, what you think you're doing is blaming Agamemnon, but at the end of the day, these men aren't blaming him. They're blaming you for being selfish, for letting your ego get in the way of helping them win this war so they can go home. Overall, I really did enjoy this book. I enjoyed the Song of Achilles a lot. If I'm going to be honest with you guys, I did enjoy Circe more than Achilles, but that's not to say that Achilles is bad. It's just probably because I knew how the book would end, the Song of Achilles. I knew how Song of Achilles was going to end. You know about Achilles and how he dies. Circe was like a really like retelling of Circe as a character, but it pushed her tale further past, further than what we know from typical Greek stories or where her story ends in the Odyssey. Oh, last thing before I go, shout out Odysseus. Odysseus is the GOAT. Madeline Miller, please, I need like a version of Odysseus. Like, I just need a story with just him. It could be the Odyssey retold. I don't care. It could be when he was a kid. Odysseus, this is the second book in a row that he's been featured in where I'm constantly like, Odysseus, he's just that guy. He truly is that guy. I need more Odysseus.